You can't spell Aljamain without Main, and he's in the main event of UFC 292. It's the bantamweight championship of the world, and you have the chance to tie the record for the most wins in title fights, along with a couple other records that you could be breaking this Saturday in what could be your last bantamweight fight. So, if you get a win on Saturday, is that it? Are you going to put the belt down and move on?
Well, we got to see how the fight goes, and then I would like to call out Volkanovski for an opportunity to become a champ. And I think that's what it's all about, dream chasing, setting goals and expectations, and trying to achieve things that seem impossible to others. But as long as you put the work in and you truly do believe, good things can happen. And I think that's what it's all about for me. So we'll see how this fight goes. And if all goes well and I look good getting the win and it's dominant, I think it'd be hard to deny me a crack at the 145-pound title.
Now, John Anik, who admittedly probably has some bias as he does a segment with your coach Ray Longo every single week, called you the greatest bantamweight in UFC history. And I think a lot of people didn't believe that or didn't agree with that. But when you look at the resume, especially if you're sticking just with the UFC and you don't take WEC stuff into account, I think you make a pretty good case for being the greatest bantamweight in UFC history. What are your thoughts on what John said?
I mean, the stuff he's saying, I think it makes sense in terms of what he's looking at. This is modern day MMA, so if we're just going by modern day MMA, then I can see why a lot of people will feel that way, and I can see why he feels that way as well. But I feel like it's tough for me because it's like, do you credit the WC and do you credit Strikeforce to count with the UFC resume? And I don't know. So it's up to the fans to decide that. That's why I don't really get involved in that. I think for me, I'm very comfortable in the body of work that I put out there. Look at all the guys I've beaten that are still in the UFC, still winning in the UFC. I beat a lot of credible guys. I beat a lot of guys in modern day MMA when the skill sets are. I would think everyone would agree the skill sets have grown. So with that being said, I think I have a pretty good case. And if people say it's me, if they say it's Dominic Cruz, that's good company to be involved with. So I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'm not sure TJ Dillashaw's still in the mix after his failed drug test, but I think TJ has a pretty solid resume in his own right. Then again, if you look at who's beaten TJ, yourself and Dominic are both have that designation.
Exactly. So TJ's not really in the race for me. I think you automatically disqualify yourself when you cheat. That's my personal opinion. And I think he's been cheating for a very, very long time. But that's neither here nor there. I still enjoyed watching him fight, but I think when you have an advantage and a lot of those wins are questionable in how he's done it, it kind of puts a little bit of a damper on things. And I think Dominic Cruz and I have done it the right way.
So I talk about records that you could be breaking on Saturday. I want to get some predictions from you. I mean, obviously, you're going to predict that wins and title fights will be a record that you tie TJ Dillashaw for on Saturday, but top position time. You need 5 minutes and 32 seconds of top position time to hold that bantamweight record. Are you going to get that?
I didn't even know that was a record, but I mean, hopefully I have less than that. Hopefully it's a takedown in 1 or 2 minutes and the fight's over. So we'll see. I mean, yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know about that one at all. But if it goes past one round, I think it may go 2 rounds this fight. So I can see that happening. And today we're going to be working a lot of stuff, just tightening up our control, making sure we're being super clean with our positions and looking for damage wherever we can look for damage so that we can try to get this guy out of there.
Well, here's one I don't think you're going to break. Submission attempts. You would need 4 submission attempts. And I'm just going to say, if you're attempting 4 submissions and if you're Aljamain Sterling, you're probably going to get one of them before you get to the number 4.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, honestly, I feel like he's did some good homework, man. Something about it. I just got a feeling he's going to be a little bit more prepared than a lot of people may think. And I'm hoping that he's not, right? I'm hoping that I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt that he's made this exponential growth. So I'm not overlooking that, but I can see him defending a couple of takedowns, defending a couple of submission attempts, and then me eventually getting him down and having what I want in the sense of the submission. So we'll see. We'll just see how well prepared he is. I think he's going to be well prepared, but I think he'll be able to stop a couple.
And the last one, I think this one's an interesting one. Significant strikes landed. You need 54 significant strikes landed to break that record.
Oh, I can do that. I might even do that in the first round. We'll see. Um, yeah, I think I can do that in the first round. That's going to be a fun one to try to reach.
Well, in terms of current records, you're on the longest win streak in bantamweight history with 9. 14 wins, the most in bantamweight history. Fight time, nearly 4 hours. You might break that 4-hour mark this weekend. You're at 3 hours and 50 minutes. And then total strikes landed 1,646. So there's the Aljamain Sterling records going into Saturday night.
We put together a pretty good resume, man. I'm very proud of everything I've accomplished thus far. So I'm looking forward to Saturday night. I can't wait to go out there and put on a show.
Another interesting fact that I noticed, UFC 170, you made your debut against Cody Gibson, who last night earned a spot in the Ultimate Fighter finale to try to win his way back into the UFC. Pedro Munoz also coincidentally made his debut at UFC 170. What do you remember about that fight against Cody Gibson, and what do you think about that kind of story arc with him trying to get a spot back in the UFC while you defend the title on the same card?
I think it's rather inspiring, man. A lot of guys to be out of the UFC for that long probably would have given up by now, and just tried and stuck with something new for work. So it's pretty cool to see that he's actually been able to make his way back. I know I was following him for a bit, and he had some wins, he had some losses on the regional circuit again, and he's back now. So that fight was a tough one, man. I had to dig deep. I was coming into that fight 8-0, and we both took it on short notice. And somehow, some way, I won the first, he won the second, and I was able to just dig deep into that third round. I know he was just coming off of a fight, so he was a little bit in better shape. I was kind of hanging out and drinking some beers, but I had to push through that third round, and we were able to get the job done.
I interviewed Sean last week, and he's kind of on a bit of a crusade against MMA managers. He feels that they don't kind of pull their weight. Now, I know that you and him were represented by the same manager for a time. Do you have any idea what he's talking about? I know now you're back with Oren Hodak, with full representation. I think he's one of the best in the game. But what do you think of what Sean was saying about MMA managers in general?
I think there's a lot of validity to the things that he says. I'm not really trying to piss anybody off. But yeah, I'm going to say not many guys do the full servicing that they're supposed to do. It almost feels like a lot of managers, most come in with the mindset of how many fighters can I get and how little service can I do and still get paid off of every single one of them. And that's my issue. And I think, yeah, that's a very big issue, man. Because if you're going to do your service, don't try to hold us to our end of the deal if you're not holding up your end of the deal. And that's pretty much what it comes down to for me. So if you think your job is to just get the person in the UFC and then collect the check and we do all the hard work, that's where the problem begins. And that's a very egotistical thing to think that you deserve something off of our hard work. So I respect whatever he's doing. I don't know exactly what's going on. He's calling it how he sees it. And that's something him and I could both agree on. My representation has been doing very well for me outside of the octagon, and I think I also help do myself some favors when I'm actually vocal and I'm in tune with social media. If you're not going to do the social media part, it's hard for you to get a manager that's going to be able to get you opportunities outside the octagon, because then it's like, what are you selling or offering to these companies? So my job is to make their job easier. But if you're not doing anything, you're not helping me set up interviews, set up my flight, helping things with my coaches, setting up dinners, meals, and things like that. What are you actually taking a cut for? For my 8 weeks of training and then me stepping in there and getting punched in the head? It makes a lot of sense. No, it does not make any sense whatsoever.
Well, it's good to see that you're being represented in a way that you're happy with right now, including now having speaking of outside of the octagon, your own rum brand, Funk Harbor. You got your shirt on, you got the bottle there in the background. So why was this a big priority for you? Obviously, you're of Jamaican descent, and you want to kind of go back to your roots, and rum is a big part of Jamaican culture.
This was huge for me because it's something I always wanted to do. I like to drink, man. When I'm outside, this is no secret. I talk about it all the time. And when I say drink, I'm not saying get smashed, but I like to drink. I enjoy a cocktail when people go out. You know, I like to socially drink with people, and I think it's just a nice way to unwind. And for me to have my own thing, something I could be proud of, and that actually tastes good. I'm actually very, very, very happy with the first run that we were able to do with. As soon as it right now to kind of let people know, like anyone who's interested, we're taking those orders now. So as soon as it hits the market, it's going to be a limited edition. People will be able to grab them right away. Um, so that's really what it's all about. I think using the UFC platform, everything I've accomplished in the octagon, and using that to piggyback into other ventures. So 34, man, I can't fight forever as much as I would like to, but this is another avenue, something that I'm very, very interested in and something that I enjoy doing.
Well, hopefully we can get it up here in Canada at some point. I know where I live, there's a massive Jamaican population, so I imagine that there's a really large market for it here. So let's get the wheels in motion on that. I feel like the release date should be after the fight. I mean, if you can't drink it now, nobody else should get a taste until after the fight's done. But we're looking forward to seeing you do your thing. It's the main event, UFC 292. Yourself, Sugar Sean O'Malley, might be your last dance at bantamweight. We'll see what the future holds. Appreciate your time. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you, guys.